Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Optibotimus coming to you with another video review. And today we're going to be taking a look at the new Hot Toys MMS 301 of Scarlet Witch from the Avengers Age of Ultron. The first of the enhanced twins to come to us. As you can see for the package, you got the really nice kind of scarlet-ish kind of color here with Elizabeth Olsen there in the background. You've got the Avengers Age of Ultron text right there. Come on the side, you've got Scarlet Witch. This side has that very, I guess, comic-looking logo for Scarlet Witch. If you remember, that's actually the way that her headpiece looks, which is really cool. You come around here to the back of the package, you got various warnings and things of that nature, and then, as with a lot of these, it is a slip sleeve cover, so you just lift that up. On the back of the package, you got the cast and crew responsible for making the figure. And you come around here to the front of it, well, you got that Scarlet Witch logo right there, and again, Scarlet Witch there. And then you got this open window with a real clear image of all of her accessories as well as the figure itself. You know, but for the package, it is very similar to what we've seen before. They don't really change all that much, you know, despite the characters changing. So for the packaging, that is about it for it. So without further ado, let's get her out here and see how cool she actually is. Guys, so here we have Wanda Maximoff, otherwise known as the Scarlet Witch, opened up and out of her packaging. And Wanda here is a little bit different than what we're kind of used to with the Scarlet Witch character. I mean, first off, in the film, she wasn't, I don't really remember her being referred to as a Scarlet Witch. I know that it said it in the end credits, but I think Tony just referred to her as Witch once, not even the Scarlet Witch. And obviously, because this is a Marvel production, her story and background is a little bit different. Instead of her being an actual mutant, which they can't use in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that term is off limits to them, she and her brother are what they call enhanced. Her and Pietro were experimented on to create, you know, super soldier kind of things using Loki's scepter, which is kind of weird because that had the Mind Stone in it, which I don't understand how that unlocks, you know, special powers that are dormant in people. Yeah, but whatever, that's how the twins got their powers. But I actually really do like the way that this character is turned out. I'm really curious also to see where they're going to go with it, because there's a lot of history between the Avengers and Scarlet Witch that I'm really curious if they're going to touch on. But for the figure here, starting off first with her accessories, she really doesn't come with a heck of a lot, to be totally honest. In addition to two relaxed hands that are just kind of shaped like this, which are currently on the figure, she gets a couple different replacement ones here. One is just this kind of open one with a little bit of a claw sort of grasp. This is more designed to go along with, I guess you could say Ultron's heart, but you can see that it's kind of put in this position where you can kind of squeeze it around and get her holding in it, something like that. That actually looks really very cool. It's not I mean, it stays on there pretty good. It's not a real great grip, but it works pretty decently. But you can see real nice detail on her hands. She's got some really nice coloring for her bracelets. She's got all of her rings on there. You got some nice fingernail paint. Really very cool that they got all that detail. And then as they go with the rest of the hands, all those same details are there for the most part, but you can see that you get a couple different positions for the hands, and all of them, other than that one, have this really cool translucent red effect on here. Really very neat, kind of simulating her powers. You know, we saw some kind of blasts coming out, but sometimes when she was like trying to control the minds of some of the characters, this is kind of how her hands looked. And I thought it was really cool. And looking at the special features and everything, she really developed some really contorted finger positions to kind of replicate, you know, the kind of coursing power that she had in her. So really very cool that they did that here as well. And then for the left hand, you can see that she's got the same thing. She's got some bracelets. She's got some rings. They are different than what she wears on the right hand, as it should be, but still very similar nonetheless. And you also have that translucent red bit in here, which just really looks very, very nice. I mean, you can see that basically what they did here was, it seems like they molded the hand in this color and then they painted each of the hands. I mean, you can see a really nice fade from the glowing portion down to the actual skin tone. Really cool how they actually did that. And then, like I said, she does come with the heart of the Ultron, I guess. This is what she ripped out of him when she went to basically get revenge after, you know, losing her brother, which, spoiler alert, sorry, I guess I should have warned you, but real good detail on there. You got the various little wires coming out. You got some nice silver paint with some some red thrown in there as well. So very, very cool. You also do get a couple extra wrist pegs. You can see that they're the little bit smaller ones, as it's customary to get with, you know, smaller female figures. And then you get some energy effects, which I hope that comes out pretty decently, because I mean, part of it is actually clear. One thing that it's kind of interesting, they don't really show you how to put these on, but they do specifically show that this one here is designed for the right hands, whereas this one is designed for the left hands. They fit in, where's it at? In this little groove section right up in here. I don't know how well that's going to come across. You can kind of see it right there. It fits up inside there. So all you do is you just take one of these hands, and this little piece right here kind of goes on the palm area. So you just wedge that in there, just like so, and you can have her hand with these really cool energy effects, and they work very nicely with all of her hands, to be honest with you. So getting that in there, you just gotta position it very nicely. You can get that kind of look going for it. It doesn't really matter what you want to do for the positioning of the fingers and stuff. You do have to be a little bit careful when you're doing it to kind of wedge these in there, but you can get something like that going. Again, really very, very cool. One thing that actually impresses me with this is a lot of the actual pieces, my camera is going crazy with the focus, but a lot of these effect things I don't necessarily like, because they're a softer plastic, and you know, they're pretty safe. I mean, they're not hard, rigid plastic, so they're not going to break, but the clarity of this really does just seem to stay just out of the realm of something like a toy. I don't know why. It just works pretty good. I mean, this looks cool because it's like emanating from her hand. So just standing there, it looks pretty neat. Whereas some of the other ones, you know, the blast effects and stuff like that, I'm not a big fan of, because it's like capturing the blast in, you know, a split second from when it actually explodes from something. These, I think, they'll look pretty cool in the fact that they kind of just seem to be emanating from her hand or body. You can do the same thing with this. This one, actually, I have a little bit of a hard time arranging. I don't know why, but no, maybe not like that. Let's see. You definitely have to be creative when you're doing it. There we go. So you get something like that, and again, you want to make sure that this section right here kind of comes down into that gap between her thumb and her finger. So you have something like that, and then you can do that with this as well. So wedge all that in there, just like that. So you can get some really cool display effects, or display options, I should say, with these. And I actually really do enjoy them. I think that they're probably the best of those effectings that we've gotten. And then you also do get the actual display stand. You got the Avengers logo. You can see that they have that really cool, the energy effect going around there. You got Avengers, Age of Ultron, Scarlet Witch. One thing that I'm curious about is when they're actually going to update their app, because all they've done so far is put up the Thor stuff. I mean, before you're supposed to be able to actually like take a picture of this, scan it, and then be able to do various, you know, special effects and things like that. And so far, like I said, Thor's the only one that they've done. Now, instead of a regular crotch cradle, they do have a waist cradle right here, which works better for her because she's wearing a skirt, so it just works a little bit nicer. Now, as for the figure herself, I'm really, again, very impressed with what they actually did with this. Now, while I do like it, there are a few things that I don't particularly like. But up first, looking at her head sculpt, this thing is absolutely terrific. I think that they absolutely nailed Elizabeth Olsen's likeness here. Some people don't particularly like it. I think that, like I said, they nailed it here, and I think they did a great job of getting the intensity for her eyes. I know a lot of people don't like it when they use the hair. I don't mind the real hair on it. The problem that I always have is how they style it, and it's kind of weird. If they just gave us sculpted hair, obviously you'd have a much easier way of controlling the overall look for the particular character. So when you give it real hair like this, it makes things a little bit more iffy, I guess. But I think it actually turned out pretty good. It might be a little bit more wavy than I think it should be, but when you get it kind of positioned in there's certain angles and things, I mean, I think that it can actually look really very nice. Now, accessory wise, I did show you all of them, but I did forget to show you her necklaces. She comes with two of them. You got a smaller one here with the little red pendant on there, and then you also have this one down here, which does have a metal chain up towards the top. What those necklaces are actually for, I have no idea. It is on the actual character, but I don't know the meaning behind them. If there is a meaning, I do not know it. Now, other than that, there are no real accessories. I guess you could say her jacket could be an accessory, but I mean, I'm not going to take it off or anything, but I think they did a great job of really recreating that faux leather kind of look. It looks great. And then you come around here and you can see a nice paint variation here towards the edge, which has a little bit more of a scorched, burned kind of look, which really does look great. She's got really nice wrist guards right here. Again, these are the relaxed hands. They are a little bit softer, so like I said, you can kind of move these out, and it really helps with actually getting her to hold that heart of Ultron. But these are the more relaxed ones where she's just kind of standing there. She is wearing her regular skirt here. She does have a slip underneath here. I am not going to entice you to sign up for my Patreon by showing you underneath that. It's a little bit tacky, and I don't really need to do that or anything. You do have some nice detail down here in her stockings, or whatever you call these. I like how they actually have the rip look on there. This is where things can get a little bit unfortunate and ugly on her. If you bring these down, you can see her knee right there, which that joint really does kind of look ugly if they kind of fall down, but they are pretty strong here at the grip, so you can lift this up above that joint. And if you're just going to have her standing there, I think that you do a pretty good job of being able to hide that. Now, if you bend the knee, obviously that's going to come out, but I don't think a lot of people are going to be having her knees bent or anything. And even still, you can bend that, and you can stretch that out over there. So even if you bend it a little bit, you can cover it up. There is some give in this. There is a bit of flex in the actual material. And then her boots look really great. Real great detail on there. Some nice stitching work on there. Great treads on the bottom, which does come across really very nice in terms of accuracy to what she was wearing. But all in all, real great look on this entire figure. I'm really very happy with it. Like I said, I don't particularly like those joints that kind of stick out, and you can kind of see you got one of those right there where it kind of, this side's not that bad. That side shows a little bit more. And then when you come down here to the elbows, if you lift her jacket up, you're going to see her elbow joints underneath here as well, like right there. But as long as you keep that pulled down, it's not a big deal. I really don't think. Really great recreation of her outfit and everything. For her articulation, the head is on a ball joint, so you get a nice range of motion there. You can get it looking left, right, up and down. The neck right down here, the whole upper body is kind of a softer rubber, so you can position that neck and it can bend forward and back, so you get a full range of motion there. The shoulders move in and out. They do rotate very nicely. The jacket does hinder a little bit, but you can rotate things around and get a pretty good range of motion there. The elbows are on two joints. Again, when you do bend it, you do get a little bit of a ugly look right there, but again, just futz with it a little bit. Pull that jacket down and you don't see anything there. It does rotate at the upper part of the bicep. I think it does. Maybe it actually doesn't. It's hard to really tell. It bends here at the elbow, I know that, but now maybe it doesn't do that there. You do have the armpit joint though, so you do get that rotation. It's I think it's right around here where that rotation actually is. The wrists do move forward and back. They can pivot all the way around, or rotate all the way around. She does have an upper diaphragm joint right below her bust, so you can rotate that around. She does have a waist joint as well, so you can get that rotating as well. The hips do move forward, they move back, they move in and out. They rotate at the upper part of the thigh. They do have two joints here at the knee, and I just pulled the whole leg out. So obviously be very careful when you're doing that. I mean, it just pops right back in there, but holy cow, that kind of scared me at first. But you do have two joints right there, and wow, yeah, that's kind of weird how that comes out like that. So definitely bionic woman. So do be careful when you're doing that, but it just does peg right up in there, so it's not breaking or anything like that, but that did scare me. And then the ankles are on ball joints, but because of how high these boots are, it does get a little bit limited in your posability. I mean, you can see that it moves forward and back just a little bit, can pivot in and out slightly, not a heck of a lot, but all that articulation is still there, so you do get a nice range of motion with the actual figure. Now, futzing with this to kind of get this back down over there, her elbow, and now setting her here, going to take a look at some other figures for size comparisons. So starting off first, here's the Scarlet Witch, and here you have her other, you know, Team Cap member. Obviously here we have Steve Rogers, and as you can see, size-wise, definitely Steve Rogers is going to be taller. She's a smaller character in the film, and it makes sense that this is the kind of scale that they're going with. And then here you have her next to Maria Hill, and again, you can see that Maria Hill is actually a little bit taller, but one thing that I will mention is that she's wearing, you know, these high heel kind of things, so it probably makes her a little bit taller. Not actually 100% sure what she's got going on down here for her boots, but I don't think that there's an actual foot in there. Who knows? I'm not sure. But you can see that Maria is a little bit taller than she is. So Scarlet Witch is a little bit smaller of a character. All in all, though, I am really very happy with how this figure turned out. You know, a lot of people are very critical about the female characters and the way that their action figures actually turn out, but I think they did really nicely here. The likeness is absolutely spot on in my opinion, you know, both in terms of the portrait and then what they did for the actual outfit. I really like what they did with the hands, you know, kind of creating that little translucent effect on there. I think it nicely kind of matches with these effects, and it really gives a real organic and kind of natural look to it. I mean, it really feels like they're kind of emanating from her hands. And that's something that I really haven't liked on a lot of these effects sort of things. But I think they nailed it here. Now, I do think that the joints are a little bit ugly, but I think you can hide those, especially with how they did the little stocking things. I mean, you can stretch those up to go over her knees. And it makes everything look just that much better, I think. Obviously, all the articulation that you would want is still here. And because Scarlet Witch does seem to be a character that is going to be continuing on, I definitely think that this is one to get. Now, the issue is, do you pick up Quicksilver? I mean, that's her twin, so that's one of those that we're going to have to take a look at here eventually. But I think because Wanda here does continue on in the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and we obviously have seen Quicksilver die, she's one that it would really nicely fit in a long-term that kind of display. If you're going just for, you know, an Age of Ultron look, obviously this is what she looked like. She did change her outfit towards the end. So I think if you're going to get her, obviously just for that Age of Ultron sort of look, I think it would work pretty decently to have Quicksilver there as well. But it's all personal preference, and in general, I think figure-wise, this actually turned out really good. So I have zero problem recommending this one. Like I said, that Quicksilver gets a little bit iffy, but we'll take care of that here in a future review. But if Scarlet Witch here is a figure that you'd like to pick up, she is available at Sideshow Collectibles. So all you have to do is click on the link down in the video description. You go to Sideshow where you can check out availability on her, as well as the rest of the Age of Ultron Hot Toy figures. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been Optibotimus. Don't forget to please like, comment, and subscribe in case you haven't already subscribbled. And until next time, I'll talk to you later.